We are live now. I'm Richard Lang, and I have a number of friends here, and again, no particular script, just talking and sharing about the Headless Way, this open space that we're all looking out of. And so I'm going to ask my friends just to briefly introduce themselves, and then we'll see what happens. And I hope you, the viewer, are just enjoying being this space in which this conversation unfolds, I hope. So, Karen, would you like to start?
Sure, sure. I'm in Holland, about the middle of it, and I found the Headless Way about 3 years ago, I think, by coincidence, through an interview in a magazine with Catherine Harding, and I loved that interview. It was very sweet, and of course the name Douglas Harding rang a bell, and I found the website. And then I found your workshop, and then I went on from there. And I really
lost your head. You lost your head.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I keep on finding it, but I keep on losing it too. So that's a good thing.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Sam, you're joining us. We're already live, Sam. So. We're on. Okay. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm in England, and like Richard, I'm here to just enjoy sharing the openness which is at the center. So it's a great opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sebastiano?
I'm Sebastiano. I'm from Milan, Italy. And I discovered headlessness about 2 years ago in a very important stage in my spiritual life, and I feel very, very blessed to have found it finally. I lost my head almost immediately after that, and I am enjoying a community of headless people all over the world.
Lovely, thank you. And Renato.
Hi, so I'm an English Buddhist monk who's living in Perth in Australia at the moment. I've been out here about 6 months this trip, and I've been enjoying the headless community for quite a few years now.
Wonderful, lovely to see you here. Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave. I live in Belgium, Antwerp. I discovered Headless 2 or 3 months ago with a course, and it's been one of the most direct methods which really made a difference for me. And I like the community here, the hangouts and stuff.
Brilliant. I've just got your picture now. I don't have the video. I don't know what happened there.
Oh.
Anyway, it'll probably come back. Okay. Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mary. I'm also Sam's wife, and we both live in Perth in Western Australia. And we got into headlessness when Richard came out to visit us and run a workshop in 2005 at our friend Pete and Pearl Sumner's venue called Guru Kula.
Lovely. And Sam?
Yes, I'm Mary's husband, Sam. We discovered this at the same time, and thank God we both got it, because it's been marvellous having a life companion who gets this and who I can share it with and every day. And it's a huge blessing, but I feel doubly blessed because of that.
Wonderful. That's everyone, isn't it? Well, why don't we... Pardon?
Did we hear from Karen?
Yes. Yes, before you came in. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, just being aware of this open space, and we're just a group of friends who enjoy living from this, and I don't know if anyone has anything in particular that they might want to share today. I'm aware I'm running the online course on head off stress, So that is one thing perhaps we could think about a bit, is how this affects stress in our lives. And
what happened to me after discovering headlessness and after quickly losing my head was that I was really impressed by how fast it made a difference in my daily life. And since we're talking about stress, yes, it did affect my reaction to stress. In fact, at once I saw the whole thing differently. Of course, as we know, it's a shift in perception. So now all of a sudden my stress was out there and it was in here. And if that is not a difference, I don't know what is. So from since then, and it's just 2 years now, but I'm still on a kind of a pink cloud, can we call it like that? You know, like embodying this in my daily life. I don't know if this is going to keep like that, but it's wonderful.
yeah.
So far, it's wonderful. It's really helping me a lot. Every time I'm in stress, I almost automatically switch in that state of headlessness, and I understand that it's not me who is in stress. Face in the mirror who is in stress, not me.
That's the kind of basic idea, I suppose, isn't it? That you locate stress where it actually happens, and here is a stress-free zone. I mean, I'm very aware that life doesn't stop being stressful, but it's there in the view out, and here is space for that.
I have at work, I have often very stressful situations. I work with people with disabilities and ADHD, I don't know if you call that in English. Well, you know, really super busy people. And when they all start talking to me at once, demanding attention and so on, sometimes it's just, you know, like a zoo. I think, oh my God, what's going on? And then when it gets too much, I just retreat. And I notice always how my vision changes. It's really like the whole thing suddenly is a movie, and I see all these people doing their thing. But you know, in order to do the work, I can't stay in that sort of restedness back thing. So I have to come out of it. But when I come out and then start reacting again with, you know, and interacting again with the people, it does make a huge difference. That for a moment I just rested back in this space where the whole thing becomes a unity. It's not particular individuals who ask a lot of attention, but it becomes a oneness. And then, okay, but yeah, I would become weird myself if I would stay in it. So then I just go into madness again. But yeah, in another way. So it's good. It's really good.
I've been noticing very strongly recently how much my thinking contributes to how I get caught up in stress, and how thinking without being aware that I'm thinking seems to be the what distracts me from noticing this, and that's been really useful to me. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's quite subtle. The whole feedback loop between thinking and feeling, and the way that feelings of distress and are caused by the thoughts, but then they are used by the thoughts to validate themselves. So just watching that process, almost like a physical process in the view out, as Sebastiano was saying, just watching that has been very helpful for me lately with regard to distress generally.
We're many voices in one consciousness, aren't we? Many faces in one consciousness.
Is it really the same one talking all the time?
Talking.
Conclusion.
I'm speaking with Bastiano's voice.
Yes.
It always reminds me of that joke about the guy who was window cleaning, and the window cleaning scaffold broke, and he was left hanging by his fingernails, way above the ground. And he wasn't a religious man, but in desperation, he looked up into the sky and said, "Look, if there's anybody there, can you please help me?" And sure enough, the clouds parted, and a ray of light hit him, and a big, deep voice said, "Yes, my son, this is God. All you have to do is trust me. Let go, and I will save you." And the guy thought about it for a minute and said, "Is there anyone else up there?"
What was the connection?
Yeah.
Stressful situation, maybe?
We were talking about whether it's all the same one.
What?
What else could it be? I mean, there's no one else up there.
One thing I've noticed about stress since I've discovered headlessness is, after discovering headlessness, I went through a period where the way I look at the world and how I experience the world changed a lot. And I became very interested in the view out and sort of having a front row seat to myself and what I was doing. But more recently, what has happened is I am experiencing more stress, and it's because I actually have always had it there but never acknowledged it or never felt it. And I do at times have panic attacks and stuff like that. And what I'm finding is lately they're happening more and I'm noticing them more, but I feel like it's happening because now I have a safe space to experience it from, so I can let my body and my emotional setup have free rein and just be freely out there how it actually is. So that's been interesting for me, because in a way, on the surface, it would look more like I'm getting more stressed, but it's actually like I'm being more, my body and my emotions are coming up more freely, and I'm more honest about what I'm going through. In the past, if something upset me, I wouldn't have any reaction to it, and I wouldn't feel it, whereas now I'm feeling it straight away, or more quickly than I used to. And it's what's happening for me with headless now is that I can kind of give myself more free rein to be dysfunctional or having a problem, or because it's just out there. It's not, I don't have any ideas that it's wrong now. It's just like, oh, that's what's happening now. I'm sort of, I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but that's
de-stressing, Mary. No.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, that's de-stress. Yeah, it's real. That's freedom from this place, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting because I just worked in a hospital for a week, and I lived in the hospital, you know, and all I was teaching them was about how to deal with stress. Kind of funny thing. Partly from a biological framework, but still, my capacity to be in that situation was only because of this. You know, it was only by me allowing it in and allowing it out, and then looking after myself in the way that you described. Could I actually be with so many people? You know, I probably saw 200 people in 6 workshops or something in a very short period of time.
Wow,
that's
it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, yeah. So it's a lot of people to, you know, keep going and not being in your own home and all that, you know, all that stuff. But just, you know, training myself to keep coming back to this place, and then like do what you said, you know, like to just notice that that's part of being in that space and de-stressing. You know, I call it de-stressing really. It stops the stress actually building up. You know, and then and then you can feel the joy. You know, what was amazing for me was I was with these people which they love their jobs. You know, and I could receive not only just all the other stuff, but actually their joy. You know, that didn't have to be excluded out of it. So it was. It was really it goes to show, you know, it's not dependent on any place, you know, whatever the situation is, if one attends to what's really important, you know, then these, you know, even if the body reacts in a really stressful way, one can still stay with the situation. You know much clearer, like how long you can stay there for, what you need to do. You know. It's like,
that's
giving a talk. Say again?
I just said that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's you know, I think it's really important, because the thing is, as you better understand that response, then it gives you, it stops it all building up, you know, and you can choose better ways of dealing with the situation. It's not, you know, like I notice I can feel like frightened when I maybe start off a talk or something like that, you know, and then I just trust in the space here, and then the system calms down by itself. But if I didn't do that, it'd go on and on and on, and then by the end of it I'd be absolutely exhausted. Whereas when I did that stuff, I wasn't, you know. So it's brilliant.
For me, I think one thing that is important for me is the recognition that life is stress, and that
Life what? Life is what?
life is stress.
Oh, stress.
Stress, yes. It's stressful. And if I'm thinking that seeing who I really am means I won't feel stressful anymore, well, it's not true. So either I'm failing, or stress is part of the deal. And seeing there's no stress here places stress there. And I find life stressful. It's come one thing after another. It comes up, and I kind of come to a place where I think this is what I must really want. I didn't want a boring old life. I wanted an exciting life. You know, but I've got both the stress-free and this. A bit like you, Mary. You know, life is more stressful.
I think also Amaranato is right about, because it does come up quite strongly, but then it goes. So it is actually de-stressing. I never thought of it that way. I'm sort of, instead of not feeling it because it's going to be too much, it's there and then it's gone like weather. And not long after, we'll be like, oh, right. And there's times when it'll be coming up and I think, okay, well, I need to not, I might be rushing to do something, then I'll get more stressed. And I go, well, I just need to, I don't have to do that task so quickly. I can take a minute and relax my body and then go on to do what I have to do without having, you know, a lot of stress involved in doing it.
Yeah, I think that the stress is inevitable in life, but accumulating stress is optional, and I think that's what we're talking about.
Right.
With headlessness, there's less there's an accumulation of stress. Stress is there, and it's very intense because I can face it squarely, and it's no less intense than it ever was. But and I'm not living in a warm bath with the sound of Om playing in the background or anything like that. And life is stressful, but the difference is my body isn't collecting it the way it used to, you know, and old stress, old collections of stress is able to come up, and I'm getting, like, gradually being freed of that as well. So it's interesting. The stress is still there; it doesn't go away, but the relationship to it completely changes with this two-way seeing. The setup is different, and your organism can, as you alluded to, Amaranato, your organism seems to be able to metabolize it properly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I wonder if
we're also set up.
Go on, Phil.
I wonder if we could just stand the conversation on its head and talk about the value of stress.
Let's do that, but I think if you're not talking, turn your mic off, mute it, because it seems we're getting some...
Oh, well, I'll have to put a headset on. Yeah.
Okay. But repeat what you said, I didn't quite...
Okay, well, I really appreciate what Mary said. I think that I really recognize what she's talking about. But also, for me, the process of going through or disidentifying with the stress is revealing and deepening, so that I can't actually do without that journey. Well, I guess we sort of believe that given a choice we would not have stress. But I'm beginning to see that the stress itself is just an unbelievable teacher, that it takes us through our own construction of a little isolated personality, which is bit by bit, quite naturally deconstructing. And what's revealed is what Amarata was talking about. It's the fundamental joy in existence that we all of us have had. Almost all small children have it. And to feel that, to have a place where one is in contact with that simple joy of being. And I don't think that one can go there without this movement into the stress and the lesson that the stress teaches you. And one of the lessons it teaches me is that I'm not separate. You know, each one of us has his own unique, particular brand of journey. But the journey back is into this common place, this one place. It's a beautiful thing. So there we are. Just to turn it all on its head.
Can I say something back to yeah? Can I say something to that?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah. So I mean, just a little fact that I use when I talk about stress, which is that one of the stress researchers, Kelly McGonigal, I think her name is, she did this research. She was about saying stress is bad for you, but she changed her tune a few years ago. And what she said is the only thing that is important about stress is your attitude towards it. That's all it is. So if you choose to say that stress is going to kill you, then it's probably will. And if you choose it not, it won't. And that stress of where we go into, you know, where it's just called optimal stress is actually what I would consider play in children. You see, so like when we don't have enough stress, we get bored, and when we have too much stress, we get anxiety. But when we're in that place of actually just the right amount of stress, we get joy. And this is, you know, and this gives us the opportunity to actually be playful, because you're not involved in one or the other. You're not totally bored, and you're not totally anxious. You're letting those things come in and go. So it's really lovely what Bill just said. You know, it's how to use it, isn't it? It's so one engages with life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your attitude is interesting. I once noticed when I was in the middle of a long and very grueling hang gliding flight. I'd been in the air about an hour and a half. I really needed to pee. I was hungry and thirsty, partially lost, cold, and buffeted and aching all over. And I thought, if I wasn't having such a good time, this would be terrible. So, I just realized that from an objective point of view, I was kind of undergoing an ordeal. You know, like if you'd suddenly dropped me into that without telling me what I was doing, I would have thought I was being tortured. But because of the context, I was having the time of my life. I was just really, really loving it. And I think that's very interesting. The inner yes that we make to stress is very, very interesting. Why we say yes to stress and why we say no to stress. It's very interesting. And I think there is some kind of noticing this makes it easy to say, for that deep yes to be noticed, because it's already there, isn't it? I mean, this says yes already. It says yes by its very nature. So noticing that yes changes the way we relate, the relationship to stress, and I think it helps it clear more, or helps us be creative with it. You know, it helps it become more of a way forward. You know, the thing that's in our way becomes the way forward then.
I think headlessness gives me the capacity to withstand much more stress. I can have more stress than before and still be at peace. I can have just like normal daily stress. Excuse me if I move my hands like an Italian. Yeah? I can have daily stress, like having an argument on the phone with somebody. And it's a real argument, and I don't even win the argument, I lose the argument. And before headlessness, I would have hung up the phone, and this would have had an echo for the rest of my day. And right now, it doesn't. And I'm surprised. I say, so I know I hung up the phone, and I say, what a beautiful day. That's just it. It makes
Yeah. Yes, the non-accumulation is good.
Yes. Some years ago, I had an experience where I became extremely self-conscious, and I was self-conscious like most teenagers. But in this situation, I had a panic attack. It's probably about 10 years ago. And then I began having more panic attacks, and it was around feeling extremely self-conscious. And it was made worse by not wanting to show it, all that kind of thing. And I realized that because it just went on, and it started happening when more and more, and then you imagine it might happen, and then it's a circle. And I realized I had to do something about this because I couldn't think my way out of it. It was to do with self-consciousness and feeling threatened by others, I suppose, and feeling separate. And if I tried to say to myself, there's only one, there are no others, it didn't work, because I just reacted as if there were others, and I was under threat. And to cut a long story short, I mean, it took a while for me to really kind of investigate it and sort it out for myself. But what I came to was that, because I went back in my life, and I thought, well, there was a point when I never felt this self-consciousness, when I was a tiny baby. And so when you see who you are, you see you've always been this open space. You've always been the one. And there was a period way back when I was the one, and I didn't know about being separate. I didn't know about others. And this sense of separation arose within this space, so much so that I completely forgot about being the one. Now, when I saw how I was the one, here is this feeling of separation still going. And so I'll tell you what I kind of worked out in my own mind was that in the beginning, at the beginning of my life, I was the one without knowing about others. And a bit like what Bill perhaps was alluding to, that the basic feeling I had as the one, so to speak, as the one, is how brilliant to be. See, how brilliant to be I am. What the joy of just actually being. And then my second thought is, God, I'd love to share this with someone. But there's no one else because I'm the one. And so what has happened in my life is that my desire to share it has come true, because now what happened in my life was that others appeared. And to have a real deep sense of the reality of others, it seems, I had to forget I was the one for a while. This is a kind of story. So that when I woke up to being the one now, I still have this feeling of separation and of not knowing what's going to happen, and the kind of adventure of life. And this, for me, us meeting, is the one sharing its joy of being, if you like, amongst other things, with itself, with many voices. And the difference is that having kind of for myself recognized that it was what I really wanted. In other words, after first realizing I wanted to share it. And now I am sharing it. And so I feel in my heart, I've shifted, that I'm not in the same way am I resisting the presence of others. I'm kind of welcoming it, because it's somehow what I wanted.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yes. And yes, this deep, and the same with stress. And I was thinking recently about how oh my God, there's this decision I've got to make, and I just can't, how do you know what the right decision to make is? And, I mean, I'm waiting for a dream, and then I got a dream, and then I didn't know whether I'd understood the dream right, because it didn't seem to indicate exactly what I thought it should, all this, And then I thought to myself, this lack of knowing exactly what to do must be what I really want, because as well as wanting company, I wanted adventure. And the nature of adventure in life is not knowing what's going to happen and not being in control. Otherwise, if you'd said, all right, tell me what to do, there it is, great for about a minute, but, is there anybody else up there, kind of? So I think I think potentially with this, it's a journey. I think the whole thing is a journey. Potentially we shift from kind of a resistance to a welcoming, because this space, because of who we are, because it all comes from here, and in your heart, you may come to the deepening sense that it's what you really want, what you really, really want and you discover why.
Lovely.
Yeah. Lovely story.
That's really, really beautiful, Richard. I think it's the deeper aspect of when one starts to sink into this place. That's what arises, isn't it?
Yeah.
All that sense of separation and all the rest of it. And how does one still be willing to say yes to all of that and the huge amount of unknowns? Because also this, I think in itself, this is unknown. It doesn't know itself. How can it? Because there's no ego to recognize itself. So by the very nature of that, there can't be any planning or anything. There is nothing going on there other than the unfolding process. So that's all that one can trust in the end, isn't it? I mean, this space does not have something recognizing it. It is this. It is. So there's no way that one can have planning or any of those types of things other than through the little person, which is always going to be limited in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's brilliant what you just said.
And for me, it's so exciting because if you've got good news, something's happened to you, then it's normal to want to share it. And the one happened, and then it said, God, I'd love to share it, but there's no one else. How do I, create others who are really other, not just cardboard cutouts? And here we are. I'm treating you as if, within my deepest heart, that you're really independent, and yet you know exactly what it's like to have happened, to be. So we can trade our kind of reactions to this amazing miracle. And the fact that we're meeting now like this, and we're all aware of, we've all happened, we've all achieved being. Not as a little bit of it, but the whole thing. And yet here we are as many as well. It's just a dream come true, really.
There was something in the Tao Te Ching that I always used to scratch my head over. It was very evocative. It's just a little, almost like a throwaway line, where he says, the man of Tao is like ice about to melt. Ice about to melt. And I thought, my logical mind couldn't make sense of that. I mean, you're either melted or you're not. But what if you're ice about to melt? And that's what we're like. We're like ice about to melt. We are solid in the sense that we are individuals, but we have this willingness to melt. We have this willingness to be on the edge of melting all the time. That seemed to capture something very, very. It was a very poetic way of putting our strange dilemma, where we are this vast one, and deeply that, and at the same time we are this little one with all the limitations and the stress and all the flesh that the ills the flesh is heir to and all of that stuff. And yet we're willing to, when we see this and start living from here, we're willing to melt, and that seems to be, that's been a great consolation to me to understand what that meant and to feel that's true.
It's a big difference, is it? The habitual or the habit of thinking ahead, trying to control things, doing it right, not making a mistake, and all of that stuff. And then suddenly, when I'm in the midst of that, I can say, hey, stop to myself. And then I just open up and I think, what will appear now? I have no control anyways, you know, what will show up? And it's such a different attitude to live from. The joy is straight away there. And I get this adventurous feeling like, what will we feel? What will, you know, and always it is beyond expectation in the sense that, you know, I couldn't have thought of it, or it's not always wonderful or pleasant, or, but it's always way more than I could ever have thought. To give a little example, I just got a second cat this afternoon. Just it walks around here through the room, and it's just 2 hours here now. While I was on my way to get it, I thought, oh my God, you know, I have a lovely relationship with my first cat. Why bother to get a mate for her? And then I realized again, you know, let go. It's the impulse was there. So, and she's such a sweetheart already. I couldn't have thought, you know, she's so different, and yeah, it was proof again. Just let go. You know, I'm in my car on my way, and we'll see what comes out of it. A complete disaster, or you know, we'll see. We'll see.
It's such a simple shift, isn't it? I notice it in myself, because this enjoyment of being many, as well as the one, it being something that I'm, you know, so interested in, and it's scenarios. No, you don't have to wait for anyone to agree. You just kind of see who you are and include everybody, and be all the different voices, and the enjoyment of having. I could switch the screen here. Enjoyment of having many voices. It's so rich, and yes, not controlled.
You know, I'm not sure if the pictures are getting stuck, but you can actually move the boxes down at the bottom, so it's quite interesting. I can put on each person's different face as I go through the boxes. You know.
Yeah, you can just
suddenly
put
I
one
get some
face
hair
and go through them all.
Yeah, and then I start becoming so I'm you now, but you know, Karen and Dave, and then Bill. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
I mean, you can wear
I can choose which
a
face
different
I
face.
like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and time
Dave's got
travel,
an
of course.
interesting
You know.
face.
You could put your own face up there as well.
Yeah.
Not that I would like to, but
I'm the MC here, so in terms of the recording, who I click on is full screen.
I see.
I have more power than you.
See, it always gets in somehow.
Karen, I think what you said about how realising that you can't control things, I think there's a number of things that when you see the headless space and start to live from it, there's a number of things that just become very apparent. And one of them is that you can't control things. You have to let that idea go that you can control anything in your life. Because you're just in this setup here, when you're in this body, you have this view out. You don't know how you got here. You don't know how long it's going to continue. And it's just a really amazing view to have. And it just becomes, you kind of give away this idea of control and in exchange you get something very alive and very compelling and, you know, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the nature
This from the woman who...
The nature of the small one, or small Sebastian, is to try and control. And I can't really change that. In fact,
No.
right now, at this stage in my life, I am enjoying very much that everything seems to be absolutely under control. And sometimes I ask myself, well, I shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be happy or being in control. But then why not? I mean, this is what small Sebastian does all the time, so let him do that. The point is not to be attached or identified with that state, and be ready to let it go. And anytime anything changes, and this is what this is kind of a practice for me, to be ready for when it's going to finish. Because right now everything is pink cloud. So be ready, because there's the other side of the medal coming too. But so far, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, beautiful. I was going to say, after Mary's speech, this is from a woman who's planned our whole life in a spreadsheet, and to whom I enjoy, to whom I owe, you know, an incredible period of peace and prosperity in my life, having, you know, since we've been together, because of her ability to control things, which is, so there's a great kind of paradox there.
That's the view both in and out, isn't it? You know, here no control, you know, and out some modicum of control, and how does one balance all of that and put it all together, you know, the little one and the big one, or whatever, you know. It's that's the mastery, isn't it? That's the trick, really, in order to be able to live in, or at least that's what I see, being able to live on this planet, is to actually somehow work those two together, type of thing, really.
And for me, it might look like my spreadsheet, I'm sort of controlling everything with my spreadsheet, but that's more like a sort of a hopeful document, like it'd be nice if this happened.
I think, you know, another thing I love about being the one is that it is so spontaneous, and it just comes up with things all day long that I couldn't have predicted, big things and little things. And some of them are pleasures and some of them are problems. But, you know, I mean, just what an amazing, I mean, there's nothing here. It's just incredibly creative and incredible.
Probably those spreadsheets of you, Mary, are just creativity. You know, it's almost like being God yourself, like you're planning an event or a happening or a manifestation or something, and it will happen likely a little different, but anyway, you're a catalyst or into something.
God making notes on the side.
Post-it notes.
Post-it notes.
That's what makes the little one safe, though, isn't it? By just doing that, you know, that's what helps to be able to move around in this funny planet, you know, to do that stuff, you know.
Yeah,
still whilst being in the big one, you know, being in this space, which has got lots of latitude, isn't it?
You're talking about, you know, the two views and how to put them together. One of the ways I understand it, Aminato, is that the little one is the functional aspect of this big one, you know, and we can do it hard or we can do it easy.
Yeah.
You know, we have to live that. We have to live that experience, and we can do it in resistance or we can do it willingly and consciously, and that's really the only choice we have. And what's amazing to me is sometimes when I'm very focused on a task and really working hard and watching this amazing skill set in operation, but from back here, and just watching the little one do his job. I'm in absolute awe of him sometimes, that he can just do it, and especially when he's relieved of the intolerable burden of selfhood, when he doesn't feel himself to be too much of, you know, when he feels himself to be, I don't know, it's very difficult to explain, but conscious first personhood seems to really add to functionality in my experience. It really helps functionality.
It's the executor, isn't it? Really,
it's
the thing that gets it's the thing that gets things done. And when it knows that it's like safe, or in that way, then it can do its job really. It does an amazing job, doesn't it? I mean, and it's being all fed from this space of creativity, of information. It's just like it's like a funnel, I guess, or something like that. Of just this is what needs to be done, type of thing. Lovely.
Well, when people are really involved in what they're doing, and one has so many witness statements from masters of one craft or another, and they say there was nobody there, and we say, well, so and so was absorbed in what he was doing. So the little one truly works at his or her peak when there is no little one. And there's just, as you said, Sam, there's just stuff happening with great precision. It's a joy to watch.
It is.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, in sport they talk about being in the zone, and I think everything we enjoy doing, and even people who are not aware of this, all enjoy that aspect of being absorbed in what they do. It's why we value work and why we value hobbies and art. I think the difference is that if that's your only place where you get it, and the rest of your life you're unconscious, it's like you only have a very little window into it, and it may be only for a little period in your life you might be able to do it. Whereas when you get it if you take it neat, if you're willing to take it neat, then you can have it all the time, whenever you want it, whatever you do.
And it comes from a non-addictive space, just like say, like with rock, climbers or something like at the top of the mountain, where they might just get that experience because they've sort of let go. Whereas then one thinks, oh, I have to keep going back into that space, rather than just having it as a normality in daily life, sitting on the toilet or whatever.
Yeah.
I think having been addicted to tobacco and hang gliding, I think you're right. There's that sense where that you when you associate this with a particular physical situation of any kind or then that is what addiction is, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you associate it exclusively with.
Talking about
do you feel? Oh, sorry. Go on, Sebastiano, please.
I'm just putting a little story in which Richard. Talking about addiction, already my story that headlessness has, in fact, freed me of many life-threatening addictions, because all of a sudden I had something better. It was there all the time. It was there. It was accessible all the time. I didn't have to go to a pusherman to collect it. And all of a sudden, the whole thing, the whole attachment to being addicted, it disappeared. It vanished. I can't say that nothing else than that. It's just like magic. It vanished because all of a sudden I wasn't that one anymore. I was able to access this at any time, which is what I'm doing right now as I'm talking to you. 2 years ago I would be there drinking, and right now I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And does anyone get stressed about whether or not this is accessible?
I can get stressed about almost anything else, but not that.
Some people say, well, this is so brilliant being headless. Can you do it all the time?
I know. Our friend was on the meeting last night was asking that, wasn't he? Can you turn it on whenever you want to?
We should have a straw poll now. One word, yes or no. Who's going to start? I say no.
No what? No what?
No, you can't have it all the time.
Oh.
No.
Who's
That wasn't what I said.
Oh, we're going to have a
Yeah,
majority.
we're just going to
decision.
see. Who says it? One word. One word. What's it going to be, Karen?
I say no too, but I say
Oh.
I add to that. It's no problem.
Okay.
The moment I want to, I'm back here. You see?
Okay. That's two no's. Sam?
I say no too, but it's like in the same way that I don't notice always that I'm breathing, but I never stop breathing, and I can always notice. I can always notice that I'm breathing if I want to. So it's like that. If I had to notice it all the time, it would be a kind of dreadful, it would be an obsession. It would be a dreadful burden having to, be stuck with, the void. I've got to keep aware of the void. I mean, give me a break. It's not, there when I need it,
So we got 3 no's. We got any yeses?
Yes, I'm saying yes.
Okay. Right.
No, I've been trying to imagine a situation in which I wouldn't be able to access that. I can't find a situation in which I wouldn't be able to.
No.
No, that's true too. That's true too.
And whenever you see it, you know it was always there, even if you weren't noticing it before.
Good point.
So we've got 3 yeses, 2 yeses, and 3 no's.
It was a trick question, by the way. I'll say yes and no.
Do that. No, you can't do that.
I just did.
In Perth, in the museum here, they have an exhibition called Your True Self, and I went to go and see it because I was walking past there the other day, and you go into the I'm just looking on my mobile phone for the picture. You go into the museum. I'll put the pictures up tomorrow, and then it says you've got to draw your true self. So that on the wall they have all these pictures of people drawing their self, and then I did this rudimentary drawing with just the hands, and then I put space for you all, But it's interesting, it was really interesting. It says work without any kind of reflective device. Draw how you think of you and represent yourself rather than creating just a physical likeness. So here's the reflective device, isn't it?
When I was training in therapy many years ago, one of the things you had to do was to draw an image of yourself. It was and so I drew a headless body with a head over somewhere top left representing the mirror, and the director of the institute looked like, I think she got really worried that I had a psychotic episode or something, and kind of just eyes wide open and walked on.
You've probably never met a sane person before. You're the first one. Freaked him out.
So here we're coming towards the end of the hour. Any reflections on just being together? This is our second Hangout on air. It's all an experiment. The one space with many voices, just having a bit of an adventure. Any reflections on the experience today or what we're doing?
I just noticed how easeful it is to be with you all. I mean, just like without having like a fixed subject. You know what I mean? Although you brought that up, just to be with each person as it is lovely. So really great space, easeful space to be in, really. Because this is in common. It's just, and it's such a powerful thing to have in common.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, it's.
We all know what we're talking about. Yes, we all know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is we can do that thing, like we had that poll and some said yes and some said no, but we all knew what we were all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. The words don't really cover it all.
No.
Yes, that's what I love. Is it's a non-verbal experience, so we can relax and hear different points of view. There isn't a right way of expressing it. Were you going to say something, Bill? Or?
Yeah, just I was just agreeing with Amonerato that the lack of agenda. When I meet in these circumstances with you guys, immediately I know that there's nothing to do. You know, you just are being. That's what we are all aware of, and that can take care of itself and does.
But there is an extra thing to expressing all the individual views, and like the yeses and nos. I mean, that has a different quality from just being together and being silent or whatsoever. I love this interaction and hearing about other experiences and discovering all the time that there is no right and wrong in this. You know, there's so many variations. Wonderful, really wonderful.
Well, I'm reluctant to close this. It's so lovely being together.
Very nice. It was a pleasure.
It was.
It was very good.
It was. My little one needs to go to sleep though.
Oh, it's late in.
Yes.
So we've got Australia.
My little one's quite tired as well.
Okay, Australia, England, the Caribbean, Belgium, Netherlands. Lovely. We're all in different. We're spread across the time zones. Yes. Okay, so lovely to see you, and I'll put this online, and we will disappear back into the great void, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely hanging out.
Yeah.